Mr. Reddick, what is the alternative Royals relationship with Walter?
Well, you mean outside the obvious that he's my boss?
Yeah.
Well, I've thought about this a lot, and I've talked to Jeff about it a lot. I mean, I really, at first I thought that we'd serve in the military together. But I think it's more just that I have an enormous respect for this man. I believe that he's a great patriot and a great model. And at the same time, Royals is a bit of, in either universe is a bit of a maverick and has a mind of his own, and he's pretty smart himself. So I guess we'll see just how that loyalty plays out, as that relationship plays out as things go along. Excuse me, all of you.
And Royals has a mole on his team now, in essence.
He does?
Do you think he'll?
I don't know.
Do you think he'll detect that mole quickly?
Well, if I answered that, you wouldn't have to watch the show.
All right.
And I don't know. But I don't think it'll be quick.
Ms. Brown, I recently rewatched Altered States. Which J.J. Abrams has, specifically cited as one of the inspirations for Fringe. I've forgotten how many nude scenes you have.
Yeah.
It's very enjoyable.
Now I don't do them. They're somebody else's job. It's much nicer.
Do you know anything about the alternate Nina, the other Nina? I've already started calling her Nina Sharper.
Sharper. Well, I figure we haven't really seen Nina in the alternate world, although I kept hoping in the finale someone would step over an arm somewhere, because her arm is there. So I am actually over there, but not the rest of me. But I figure when she crosses over, if it's the road not taken, that Nina maybe spent a little too much time with Timothy Leary and Walter and William, and that if she's about control in this world, she's about lack of control there. And then perhaps, she moves in altered states of consciousness rather than in the controlling consciousness of this world.
Oh, that's really interesting, because I hadn't thought about it. Nina would be much looser in that control.
Or she could be a light beam, She could be a light beam that travels to the end.
Right.
She has that.
I think you have a couple of the key sort of moments that are kind of dangling in the air from this past season. One is your kiss with Royals.
Yes, and our love child, Astrid. I know, I have to say.
Very good, asked and answered, okay. And in the episode Peter, you have that line. You say you know how much Peter meant to me, and your voice cracks.
Yes.
That seemed to be very fraught for me as a viewer. Is there a whole other level to your relationship with Peter that we have yet to see?
Well, there is. If you go back to the first season, we had a scene in a stable, equestrian center, where I say, you and I used to spend a lot of time here. So there is a whole history that Peter and I have that is yet to be disclosed. But we have 2, 3, 4 more years to deal with that.
Ms. Nicole, Astrid's doppelganger is very different from the Astrid we know. How do you envision that new character? And speaking of vision, your eyes look really different in that scene. Like, they look like sparkly.
I will never tell my secret. Alternate Astrid secret, rather. I think the character of Astrid is really interesting in the context of these two universes, because I don't think she necessarily took a different road. I think that she's so fundamentally different that she took the same road and the outcome is just kind of unbelievable. And Astrid doesn't have the emotional communication in the alternate universe that she does in this one, which is very interesting because she's so close to Walter Bishop, and develop this incredible relationship together, but this alternate Astrid doesn't quite have the capability to do that. And so she's kind of a loner. They describe her as a looker in the finale. And what she does is she sits in front of screens with floating data, and she's able to make quick decisions based on logic rather than based on how she feels about it, which is really interesting. She's kind of a little bit like a machine in a certain way. And what is interesting personally for me is that my sister is autistic and is not like the alternate Astrid, but definitely when I started to read these scripts, I thought, oh my gosh, there's some really interesting things I can do with this character. I'm not an expert on autism at all, but I have a very personal connection to it. And so I thought, oh wow, there's a whole world of possibilities to make these two people so incredibly different, than more than just what's on the page. So in the first part of the season 3, you get to see more of the alternative Astrid and see how vastly different the two women are.
And I think a lot of us would like to see more of the kind of personal life or workings of Astrid on this side of the world. Will we do that?
I got to see where she lives the other day, and that was so cool. I walked in and I said, this is Astrid's apartment? Whoa, and it looks really neat, and it's interesting. It's tiny little things like that give you a little bit more insight into who she is, because I really don't have a lot of background for her. I just know how she interacts with people individually, and that's been enough for me, but now I know what color her walls are, so... Watch out, exactly.
That's very cool. I have a question for the producers. At the earlier this week, the J.J. Abrams Joss Whedon nerd mind exploding panel yesterday. J.J. said that these days a network show has to find some balance between serialized storytelling and episodic TV storytelling that requires less commitment, and he specifically mentioned Fringe. And it seemed to me that you guys have gone success or a failure. That was a success. Body language is everything. You guys seem to have really gone all in on serialized mythology-based storytelling by the end of this season.
Right.
So I wondered how you're going to address this in the new season. What's the balance going to be between mythology and standalone episodes?
We learned early on that people sort of like the fans really love the mythology, but there's needs. There are needs from the network and to sort of make sure that people can come and say, oh, I really want to check out that show Fringe, and not really feel like I'm too far gone. Like I can't really join it. I can't really jump in. So we started experimenting with a thing called, because they're called standalone episodes or mythology episodes, and we sort of did some experiments to figure out what degrees of which, and we came up with a term that we call mythalones, which seems to really work. The best example from last season was something like White Tulip, that... Thanks so much. But you can see that you're following Walter's, his journey, and we realized, hey, this is the right mix, because you get the mythological elements that people really get paid, they really want to see. So we're not really abandoning our core fan group, but we're having a standalone case that we find is compelling and thematically will link with that story. And with RoboCop. Yeah, and Peter Weller, who did very well.
That was a great performance by Peter Weller.
But it was, but narratively
better with RoboCop, I found.
Yeah, even Coffee.
Yeah.
Narratively, we realized that this is the right balance for us. So we're going to have hard mythology episodes, but we're going to have mythalones as well, and hopefully keep you really entertained in that manner, because we feel that just you guys, the fans, were not really responding to the standalone concept. So JJ's absolutely right. You need to find a way that people can sort of jump in any episode and say, I want to check this show out, and I'm not going to be lost, and I want to find out why this show, people find it compelling.